Hello there. So the Labour Party isn't quite as progressive and diverse where general social justice is concerned as everyone thought it was, as its membership looks headed to maintain the rule of the male, the stale and the pale. Firstly, as ever, please kick that YouTube algorithm up the jacksie by giving this video a big fat like. Now, those at the head of the Labour Party are on course to fail in attaining that holy grail of left-wing political leadership, that holy grail being to not have a male at the head of it. After all the talk of Rebecca Long-Bailey, Angela Rayner, Jess Phillips, Emily Thornberry and Diane Abbott, the members' favourite to replace Jeremy Corbyn as Labour Party leader turns out to be Sir Keir Starmer. In fact, in a recent YouGov poll of 1,059 Labour Party members, commissioned by the Party Members Project, Keir Starmer came out well ahead on 31%, with Rebecca Long-Bailey in second place on 20%. Then came Jess Phillips in third place on 11%, followed by Yvette Cooper and Clive Lewis, both tying for fourth place on 7%. Emily Thornberry came in at sixth place on 6%, and Lisa Nandy came seventh on 5%. Further, in a final runoff likely to be between Starmer and Long-Bailey, the former Director of Public Prosecutions, Keir Starmer, looks likely to win by 61% to 39%. This will never do. Another man of a certain age and white in charge of the progressive and diverse Labour Party. Whatever next? How on earth can any self-respecting Labourite allow the Tories to beat them by 2 elected female leaders to 0? That would surely be unforgivable. And all the taunts they'll get from the right for their lack of progressive credentials. I mean, even UKIP had an elected female leader, albeit only for a couple of weeks. How the dickens can the Labour Party be progressively patriotic, or whatever their latest fad is, without a female leader? Now, I expect some lefty Labour supporting wag or other to say something like they would just be electing the best person for the job. But sorry, that should not wash in the progressive and diverse Labour Party. How can a future Labour Party push for female quotas on company boards, chairpersons' roles and all that sort of thing when the first thing it's done in the face of a huge electoral defeat is to put a man back at the helm? No, the obvious thing to do here is follow the sort of policies that the Labour Party has been espousing all these years. Affirmative action, to prove that putting a man in charge is always a bad idea. Just look at the last electoral encounter with a male, pale and definitely stale leader. Why reinforce that Corbyn failure? Professor Tim Bale of Queen Mary University of London, who ran the poll together with the University of Sussex, said that Starmer looked to be heading for a fairly emphatic victory. But he is also quoted by The Guardian as saying, "It certainly doesn't look as if Labour's members are necessarily persuaded that it's time the party had a female leader. They seem more interested in picking the best person for the job, irrespective of gender." But Labour can't let that genie out of the bottle. It might catch on in the private sector. Professor Bale also said, "For all the talk of Labour needing some northern grit in order to help it regain its so-called northern wall seats and working class voters, it looks like the membership are more interested in who they think will do the best job than where or what background they came from." Once again, that is surely the wrong message for the left to be putting out. I mean, background not being one of the major factors here. So in order to succeed, the Labour Party membership currently thinks it needs as its next leader a London-centric knight of the realm barrister and alleged millionaire of the male, pale and stale variety. Does it? Now, when they say the right person for the job, do they mean someone who can lead a left-wing political party well, or someone who ticks the right electoral boxes for them? And by that I mean a front person, someone who can act as a political fig leaf for the party's currently hard left and anti-Semitic views. Because at its heart the Labour Party is still momentum fuelled. And it still has a hard left manifesto left over from the general election that will need a comprehensive rewrite before the UK electorate will ever give Labour a second look. Labour had effectively relinquished control to momentum and thus ended up at odds with the party's core voters, who they had misjudged, ignored and utterly abandoned in the momentum ideological move to the Marxist, hard-left, metropolitan liberal brand headed by Jeremy Corbyn. The lesson that Labour need to learn is that its newly cultivated Marxist liberal quota of party membership is a completely different beast with a completely different set of views to its traditional middle-of-the-road voters and members. Remember that Labour is this supposed democratic party that votes on policies so as to adopt them, and that's how they ended up with their general election mess. And even when Jeremy Corbyn and John McDonnell go, the supporters of their views will still be there. This leaves any new leader coming in with a problem. How do they make their party electable again? And the obvious answer is to get back onto the more centre ground of politics. But the Tories are already in there, having not only stolen a lot of red seats, but also by pledging to increase the minimum wage by far above the rate of inflation, for example. So what is the new Labour leadership meant to do about that? Agree with the new minimum wage, showing themselves to be pointless, or oppose it, showing themselves to be clueless? But how are they going to get the party onto the centre ground when most of its current activists are intent on bullying the whole UK population onto the low grounds of Marxism? Answer is, they won't. And when they fail to occupy the centre ground, they also fail to form a credible opposition, so basically leaving the Tories to do what they will. The only short-term option for Labour is to appear to have changed, to appear that they've learned their lesson. Cue someone who can offer that thin political veneer of respectability. Cue Sir Keir Starmer. Because they need to re-attract the ordinary worker on the Clapham omnibus. Then they can vote in more sensible centre-ground policies. But to do that, they need to have centre-ground policies that would bring in new centre-ground members. How likely is that in the next few years? Maybe in the next decade? Should Starmer become the Labour leader, for how long would he be having to try and frame his words and answers to the middle ground, while the king-sized albatross of momentum policies hangs around his neck? And any leader taking post right now would walk smack bang into the local elections in May that covers the London mayoral as well as the police and crime commissioner elections. That will be a very early test, maybe too early. But worse than that, as I alluded to before, the Labour Party will have proven itself unable to attract, or worse still, failure to promote, female leadership of the right calibre. It will still be lagging behind the Tories, the Lib Dems, the Greens, the SNP, Plaid and UKIP by not having elected itself a non-male leader. And I don't think the Labour Party should be allowed to get away with another male leader. After all, this is the party that berates everyone else for lacking in such areas. This is the party that would impose all sorts of quotas. The Labour Party should lead by example there and ensure that it has a female at its head, should it not? So I call on any possible male contenders to withdraw from the field and demonstrate to the world that the Labour Party can thrive under the sort of policy of diversity that it would visit on the rest of us. I ask those possible male candidates to make the ultimate political sacrifice by standing aside, so showing total confidence in their female comrades in arms to lead their party to success. Then when Labour sweeps to power as a result, its politicians can continue to do what they've always done, lecture us all. I want to see either Long Bailey, Phillips, Cooper, Abbott or Thornbury facing off against Boris Johnson at the dispatch box during Wednesday lunchtime PMQs. Surely gender and diversity are far more important than any other consideration when choosing the head of the left-wing Labour Party. And surely the current Labour membership also believes in that ideal. I say the Labour Party should put its political money where its policy mouth is and make sure its next leader is non-male. Surely anything else would just be a total political sellout. And to help the Labour Party discover its diverse progressiveness, I think that all Brexiteers and those on the right should be pushing Labour to put one of those top women in charge. That would also show how diverse we on the right are, as well as helping to push the progressive agenda. After all, what other reason could we possibly have for pushing for Keir Starmer to stand down in favour of Long Bailey, for example? Anyway, what do you think? Please share and comment, and thank you for watching.